Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2362. This week we're celebrating the Quail. It's a motorsports gathering that takes place Friday, August 18th at the Quail Lodge and Golf Course in Carmel, California during the iconic Car Week. You don't want to miss it. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm, supposed to be at the Quail, and we'll be there eventually, but I'm in Pensacola, Florida, with a very special guest by the name of Jeff Jennings. Jeff, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have it in gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
I am indeed, Mark.
All right, we're going to have some fun today because what you guys are doing is one of those wonderful things that has been happening over the last decade. But before we get into that, what's one little thing that maybe people don't know about Jeff Jennings?
Well, gosh, they know I'm a car nut, but probably not many people know that I'm actually half of my college career was spent in musical theater and opera, and so I've done a lot of singing and theatrical work, and that's certainly helped me in my business career because I'm never afraid to get on stage with 100 people or 1,000 people. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, that is very cool. I'll tell you, you probably then know about Donald Osborne.
I believe so, yeah.
Donald's, he's been on TV shows with Jay Leno. He runs Audrain's.
Oh, yes.
Audrain Concours, all that. And I've been friends with Donald for a long time. I actually met him at Retromobile in Paris way, way long decades ago. I think it was 2007 is when we met. But Donald sings opera, and he was on the show during one of my mom's birthdays. So he sang her happy birthday and a very operatic. So I'm trying to think if anyone's today's birthday so we can sing a birthday. I'm sure it's somebody's birthday out there, but this is very interesting because a lot of my guests have music backgrounds. A lot of my guests have been musicians, been in bands, and if you think about kind of what you guys are doing there at Velocity Restorations, I had a guy that runs a little company called Singer on the show who came, Rob Dickinson came with a music rock background. So something about cars and music, they go together, right?
They do go together, indeed.
Yeah, well, very cool. Well, I won't make you sing today, but maybe maybe you can do the national anthem the morning of the Quail for them, like Donald does at so many shows he does. So I'm going to give my friends a call at the Quail and see if they can get you to sing a song. How's that sound?
If they ask, I am up for it.
There you go. Awesome. Well, let me give you an introduction here. Jeff Jennings is the Director of Marketing and Customer Service at Velocity Restorations, where they build classic vehicles for the modern driver. Integrating contemporary parts and components with vintage design, they get the vehicles of your dreams with a guarantee of a production timeline, and that's the Velocity Pledge. Jeff started working in the classic car industry at the young age of 14 in restoration shop. His career includes 11 years with BMW, one of my favorite marques, time with Sonic Automotive, and later joining Jaguar Land Rover. He also had his own Restomod business building Defenders. Very cool. Being a lifelong car enthusiast with a love for getting under the hood and getting his hands dirty, Jeff loves the process of making something new again, and even better than new. He's combined his career with his hobby in life. That is the secret sauce to life. We'll be back in just a minute, but first a word from our sponsors. So give them a little love. We're talking about the Quail. We're talking about restorations. We'll be right back. Years ago, when it was time to renew my collector car insurance policy, my carrier's rates went up. Way up, but my usage was the same and I never made a claim. I didn't even have a ticket. So what's with that? So I turned to American Collectors Insurance. Has your collector car insurance recently raised your rates for no good reason? Tired of paying an annual membership fee? Then it's time to look around and call American Collectors Insurance. I shopped around, I asked friends for recommendations, and found a winner that I can trust. And boy, I'm glad I did. I saved hundreds of dollars every year and slept better at night knowing my baby was properly insured. American Collectors Insurance have been protecting vehicles since 1976. They provided me with an agreed value insurance policy backed by their history of taking great care of their clients. What could be better than that? So give them a call and ask for a quote today. 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224 9324 and protect the ones you love like I did with American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. Did you know that Cars Yeah is in the top 1% of all podcasts based on listenership according to Libsyn, the premier RSS feed for podcasts in the United States? That's right. Plus, DuPont Registry recommended Cars Yeah is one of their top 10 car podcasts for you to enjoy. Cars Yeah has experienced tremendous growth, plus your ads are evergreen, meaning they never go away. And more listeners find Cars Yeah every day for their daily dose of automotive inspiration. Do you want to expose your brand to a highly targeted list of automotive enthusiasts in a very unique and very personal way? Well, I can help you. Contact me, Mark Green, at mark@carsyeah.com or through the website at carsyeah.com today to learn more. So, Jeff, we are back. So this course in life that led you to Velocity Restorations, before we talk about what you're doing there and the very cool builds, I want to talk a little bit more about your history in cars. It sounds like from a young age of 14, you kind of knew a path you wanted to be on. So could you walk us through some of these different career positions that you've had? Because you've worked with some iconic brands.
Yeah, sure, Mark. So at a very young age, honestly, I think my parents said that my first word out of my mouth was car. So
sounds like me.
Yeah, they knew it was a problem already, from the very beginning. And so to kind of foster that interest and love for cars, my dad basically at 14 years old got me connected with a gentleman in the mountains of New Mexico who was doing classic restoration work. And we literally tore down old Mercedes and BMWs and Porsches and, a number of old vehicles, Alfa Romeos as well, in this workshop, just he and I listening to classical music, basically tearing cars apart and rebuilding them and
Nice.
building these beautiful cars. I mean, they were, amazing rides. And we actually did my first car, which was a Volkswagen Beetle convertible. And we put a 356 B Super 90 engine tuned up to an 18.5, in that car. So that's what I drove basically through college. I knew I wanted to be in the automotive industry in my career. And after I completed my initial degree at Pepperdine University in advertising and marketing, I went back a couple of years later to get an international business degree with a German influence so that I could break into the German auto industry. I figured if I could, speak the language, understood the culture, I'd have a better chance of joining one of those brands. And so the first brand out of college that I joined was BMW. And what a great experience it was. They're an incredible company. I spent 5 years in the States and about almost 6 years abroad, and did everything from sales and marketing to distribution to training, and then moved to Munich to do product planning for the Americas, and then took over the training operations at BMW United Kingdom, and just had a really great career. And as I was moving back to the States, I kind of wanted to start doing something a little different. So I decided to join Sonic Automotive at that point and really dive into the corporate side of retail automotive, and had a great opportunity to work with some super people on developing their overall strategy, brand strategy, their operational model for 150 stores that they wanted to operate under one singular model, and then develop all the training and development along that so that we could train their staff members and their GMs on how to run the business. And then I wasn't doing much with cars for 5 years. So, and was really wanting to dive back into cars and had the opportunity because I'd had such a great time in the UK to join JLR and Jaguar Land Rover and spent 8 years with them in training and brand management for the Land Rover brand, and love both of those brands. And that's when I started getting into the Restomod business with Defenders, because I started working with the company over in the UK that was already doing the restorations, and then ordered 2 trucks from them and thought I'd keep one and maybe spend one and make a little money on them. And that was about 25 or 27 trucks ago, and
Nice.
and actually started building our own, because now we started to get into the Restomod side of it, and have built probably 12 trucks as well, full trucks. Yeah. So really some fun things, but I really wanted to marry my career and my hobby. And one of the guys that I met along the way had joined Velocity, and he kept, reaching out and saying, "Hey, you got to see this. It's amazing. Like, the scale that they're working at is just unbelievable, and we could really use your marketing background and expertise and in operational excellence and training and development and bring that to bear on the Velocity organization." So I decided to take the plunge, and along with another colleague of mine from Jaguar Land Rover who runs the sales operation, and we both joined Velocity really about a month and a half ago. So we're very fresh in business.
Well, what a career path. And it's really interesting how these pathways and roadways you've taken have led to the next thing and the next thing. And a lot of it is like going off-road and coming around a corner and going, look at that valley. We got to go down into there and let's climb this hill. I mean, what a wonderful career path. And Velocity Restorations, what you guys are doing there is so cool. And, I've been doing this show for a little over 9 years, and I've seen a trend. And what Velocity Restoration is all about is a big part of that trend. And that is, for those of us who are more, I'll call myself a more mature guy, been around for a little bit. We look back on our youth, and typically the cars I've had a passion for, my case, old Porsches, were cars I wanted when I was in high school and college, but couldn't quite afford. I had a Karmann Ghia that was my poor man's Porsche that I restored, so you'll appreciate that. I didn't have a Porsche engine, though, but I did build it up to a 2110cc with dual Delardo carbs and made that car scoot along. But we all want things that will bring back the passion for our youth, but these days we want to do it in comfort and have a little more style, a little more safety, a little more speed, and that's what Velocity Restorations is all about. So walk us through. You guys built some really cool things, from classic Broncos to F-150, 250s, K5 Blazers. I have a great story about that. Mustangs, and of course the Scouts. So tell me more about this company. I love it.
I got to tell you, Mark, it's extraordinary. And the tipping point for me was when I actually visited the production facility. That's when I said, I think I need to join these guys, because one of the things that all smaller Restomod companies struggle with is timescale, resource timescale and parts procurement and that sort of thing. So, it's taking a year, maybe even a year and a half sometimes, to build some of these trucks from start to finish. Well, Velocity has a full-scale production facility with 4 lines of production and over 150 staff members that are just dedicated to building these beautiful machines.
Holy cow.
And so, we have a 135,000 square foot factory. And, I know it's the Restomod business, but we're not actually, unless we have to, using any original parts. These are all brand new parts. They are brand new 1967 to 72 or so vehicles, whether it's a Bronco or as you said, K5 Blazer, the Mustang, F100 pickup, F250, or the Scout. We are purchasing brand new bodies. We have a frame that's being constructed for us that creates better structural rigidity and better dimensional geometrical suspension capability to make the ride better and the handling better of these vehicles. And then all of the componentry, whether it's the Coyote V8 engines that we get as crate motors, with a 10-speed automatic transmission, to gauge clusters that are manufactured through Dakota Digital and branded Velocity. All of these components and parts are brand new parts, and they create this level of creature comfort, drivability, reliability that probably you cannot get in most of these other restoration shops. And one of the other unique things about it is, because it's a full-scale production facility, we can do it in 14 weeks.
What? No.
Yes.
Really?
Start.
Well, there's the secret right there, because a lot of this, and I've had cars restored, I've raced vintage cars and have to deal with finding parts and everything. One of the biggest challenges is the time frame. And I know some of these manufacturers these days building these things, it's years to get a car done. And when you want something, you want it now. But even better, you're basically getting a new car that is an old car. So you get the best of all worlds. Plus, I would assume there's also safety features. Like, I've had old cars that, good luck trying to brake fast, right? They're a little bit scary sometimes.
Yeah, we're using Willwood brakes and Bear brakes, and we do Hydro Boost systems so that we can control brake proportioning better. These things go fast and they stop fast, and they stop directionally dead on accurate. So whereas you would always have brake biasing issues with a lot of these older rigs.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I can't believe the time frame though, but I get it. If you have a manufacturing facility, basically you're building brand new cars that are old cars. And when I come in there and I want you to build me a classic Bronco, or I think of a Scout, or even a K5, which I spent a summer driving a brand new K5 Blazer all the way down the tip of Baja and back up Mexico. It was just a really cool deal. I was a very lucky kid. I was only 16 years old, and that car didn't drive that great. I'll tell you, back in the day, but I'll bet you yours drive pretty cool. So when I come to see you, do I get to spec out all the components of my ride, from color, look, power, all those things? Or do you have specific components that you put in so that the car can be built in that kind of time frame?
So that's kind of the difference, right? So I know that there are some of our competitors that really highlight the fact that you can make a very bespoke vehicle, but what we find is about 90% of our customers, they want to spec color, interior, some upgrades, maybe sound systems, wheels. Is it a hard top or soft top? But beyond that, they're not going that wildly off-piste to do mods to the engine or the suspension or braking. We have a set menu, and that is how we can scale to get a 14-week lead time from start to finish, and we can build in the quality level because, we've decided that we're going to warranty our vehicles for 2 years and 24,000 miles.
Oh my gosh, wow.
From bumper to bumper. And then another 336 just for the powertrain. So it's 5 years and basically about 60,000 miles that you have a warranty.
Wow. So again, it's just like buying a brand new car, basically. This is so cool. I noticed on your website too, you have a great relationship with Woodside Credit. Now, Mitz Shatson, who is the president of Woodside, has been a guest on the show. I ran into him at the La Jolla Concord this year. Wonderful guy. So you've got that relationship as well, right?
Absolutely. So, not everybody wants to plunk down $250,000 or $300,000 for one of these. So you have the ability to finance it in the way you want to. And we have that clearly defined on our website. And as long as you trade that vehicle back into us as well, we will actually guarantee a future value of it, depending on mileage that you put on the car.
Oh my gosh.
But we want to capture those vehicles so that we can remarket them as a Velocity pre-owned or certified pre-owned car.
Yeah, that's a really smart thing to do. A friend of mine, Henry, up at Intermechanica in Canada, did the same thing. And it was a way for him to make sure that the cars he was building, he could get back, make sure that they're accurate and correct so that when they were resold. And it was a great thing for his customers too, because they knew they had a way to channel that car back to either get a new one or something different. So you guys are doing an amazing job. This is really cool. And one of the really neat things is you're going to be having a couple vehicles on display at the spectacular Quail event during Car Week. Now, this event is a crown jewel of that week. Of course, along with the Pebble Beach Concours, we can't forget those guys because they've been around doing it a long time. But the Quail, I've been attending that event since day one. And if you're fortunate enough to get a ticket, and they're long sold out, but you can get in line for next year. But you're going to have two vehicles there that week. What does that mean for you?
Well, this is our first time to go to Quail. And one of the reasons why I've joined the team is that, we have the production element locked, right? We have the parts procurement piece of it handled, all of our in-house R&D and our own interior paint booths and things to do all of our production in-house. What we didn't quite have all pulled together was the media presence, the events like the Quail. We just completed a K5 Blazer launch program in the Hamptons this last weekend. So those are the things that I'm going to be involved in the future. And we're actually debuting a Street Edition Mustang. This is our upgraded edition Mustang, and it will be, I believe, moss green, which is very similar to the Bullet car. And it'll be a fastback, a 67 fastback. And then we'll have the Heritage Edition K5 Blazer. So this is the one I just did a full feature film shoot on and lifestyle shoot on the eastern shore of Alabama. And so we'll be featuring that vehicle, I believe, in its soft top guise. So we'll have a 6-point roll cage with a safari top on it. And it is absolutely stunning. And probably the most important thing in both of those vehicles, all of the interiors and the billet exterior components are all in-house R&D developed and manufactured by us. Wow. So these are all the upgraded level vehicles that have all the bespoke interiors in them.
Did you ever pinch yourself, Jeff, that what you're doing right now is like dreamland? Oh my gosh.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. This is so cool. Are you going to have anything else going on during Car Week where people, if they can't get to the Quail, can come and see what you're doing?
Absolutely. So we have test drives beginning August 16th through the 19th. We have rented a property offsite in Spanish Bay, and you can actually just go to our website, velocityrestorations.com, and go to test drive, and you'll see Monterey Car Week, and you can sign up for a test drive there. And really, you can test drive any one of the vehicles we represent, whether it's a Bronco, a Mustang, the K5 Blazer, the F100 and F250 pickups. All of those vehicles are going to be on display there, available to test drive.
Well, there you go. This is just so cool. I really, really love what you're doing. Fantastic. And kudos to the team and what you're doing there. It's just beyond imagination, really, when you think about it. You're becoming a manufacturer, which is really, really cool. I want to talk a little bit more about you, though. And you've worked for some amazing, iconic brands. I would assume you've also worked around some amazing people. Is there somebody that's been highly influential or perhaps a mentor in your life that you look back and go, man, I'm sure glad that person was in my world?
Yeah, I would say there are probably two people. Early in my career, it was Ed Husak, and he was a retired full bird colonel from the Marines. He actually ran the entire logistics operation for Desert Storm. And Ed was just an amazing man. He's since passed away about 5 years ago, and a huge loss to many of us who were mentored by Ed in the field organization. And he always taught us an incredible level of integrity, that we needed to honor all of our commitments and to be there on time and to really be servant leaders to the rest of the organization. And so he was super influential on many of us at BMW early in our career.
How on earth did you get to be part of his circle?
I joined the Southern Regional Organization, and he was in Atlanta. And basically, I got a turn with Ed as a sales and marketing manager locally in the field, and got to work under Ed. And what a privilege it was, honestly.
No kidding. Yeah. Hoorah. Wow.
And the second was Steve Nash. He was my boss. He was the VP of after sales at BMW United Kingdom. Probably one of the nicest people I have ever encountered, a great leader. But one of the things he said to people when they asked him about managing Jeff Jennings is he said, look, you just need to clear the way and let him run and let him create magic, because you don't want to cage him and his enthusiasm and his drive. And we created some incredible things together. And he is now the chief executive officer of the Institute of the Motor Industry in the United Kingdom, and a very high-powered governmental influencer position for the motor industry. And he and I are still very dear friends. Every time I'm in the UK, I got to see he and his wife.
How fortunate you are to have those two people in your lives. Well, let's talk about challenges, because they teach us really valuable things while they may be very painful as we're going through them. Is there one situation in particular you could share?
Yeah, I think, in my career, I've been through two sort of senior level management changes. And every time you have CEO changes or let's call them vice president of operation changes, there's almost a complete reset. And I had a boss that I had joined with Jaguar Land Rover that I knew actually from the United Kingdom. He ran Porsche UK, and he hired me on and really cleared the pathway for us to create very quickly a completely revamped training and development and recognition organization. And then about a year and a half after he started, he was pulled over to the United Kingdom to be the global director of operations. And we had a senior leadership change, a CEO change of the brand, and I feel like I went from hero to zero in about 24 hours, and all of us really had to prove to that new CEO what we were capable of. Our dedication to the business, our understanding of the brand, but probably, most importantly, our business acumen and strategy development. Like we put together a brand new process called Executive Review Board. And I think everybody was like, oh my gosh, like how are we going to go through this? This is going to be all this scrutiny on every program and things that we did. As long as you were honest and you put together a solid business case, he would challenge you constantly on everything. But as long as you were buttoned up, you would pretty much get green-lighted every project that you were doing and have to deliver on the results, which I never had a problem doing, but I was able to win him over after a couple of years of working with him, that he trusted what we were doing.
Wow. Sounds like challenging but great situations to be in. Lots of times companies don't bother with that, and that leads to decline typically, especially in a large company growing. So wonderful situations. I want to learn a little bit more about you, though, as well as we move through this process. And one is to have you share a special vehicle story. Sounds like you've had a lot of very cool rides in your life, but is there one that stands out you could share with us?
Yeah. So in college, after I'd had the Beetle convertible, I actually decided to purchase a Porsche 924 Turbo, and my wife, the woman who's now my wife, but my girlfriend at the time, she said, "That's not a Porsche, it's a VW."
Oh, ouch. Thank you.
Yeah, I said, "Oh, actually it has an Audi motor in it," but
we're not splitting hairs.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we shipped that car over to Germany when I had to go over to school for my graduate program in Germany, and I swear we drove the wheels off that car up and down the Autobahn. So when my son got into college, he and I wanted to do a project together. So we actually bought off of Bring a Trailer a one-owner 40,000-mile 924 Turbo.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, that he had purchased during his time in Italy through the military program. And I had the original window sticker for that car and all of the records from the day he bought it for basically the last 40 years. It was amazing, the records we had. But we decided actually to convert that car to a Carrera GT package.
Ooh.
Yeah, so my son and I kind of went through all of the design build, the modifications to the engine. We did a lot of the modifications to the engine with the air-to-air intercooler, the uprating of a Norgren variable wastegate. So I taught him a lot of things about the mechanical work on that car through that project. And I just recently, about a week ago, literally sold it to a gentleman who's a collector in Asheville, North Carolina, and it just got shipped to him. But What a brilliant project, a beautiful car in the end, a silver over black leather Carrera GT tribute example.
Oh my gosh, how cool. Well, there again, there's a lot of correlations going on in your life, Jeff, of things that you've done that relate to what you're doing now. And that is, tribute cars, rebuilding cars, reimagining cars. It's pretty cool. That car stands out for me because when I was in high school, I graduated in 1976. Now, the Turbo hadn't come out yet. I think it was a few years later, maybe, but a friend of my mom's loaned me his brand new 924 to drive to my senior prom. And so I got to drive that from La Jolla, where I was living, to over to Coronado Island. We had our prom at Hotel Del, and they parked it right out in front, which I thought was cool. But I tell you, the whole time during the prom, I just wanted to get back outside and go for a drive. It's like that was the way I was going. But very, very cool. You don't see many of those around anymore. They just kind of evaporated, didn't they?
They evaporated, they went into disrepair. People, they're not the most desirable Porsche out there, but it seems like now almost anything Porsche is bringing pretty good
crazy
money. And we actually sold it for, I felt, a very fair price, and he's gotten a tremendous vehicle, actually.
Yeah, lucky guy. Well, let's crawl into your head a little bit here. A bit of a car psychology question. If you were reincarnated, pun intended, manifest as a vehicle, what would you be? But more importantly, why?
So after leaving, most recently I worked for Volvo in Charleston, South Carolina. And, when I decided to join the land of buying my own cars again, for my daily driver car, I actually decided to buy a Range Rover and an L405 Range Rover. And I launched that car with JLR. And what always impressed me about that car was its sheer breadth of capability. They talk about it in all the branding that we've done with JLR, but when you take that vehicle off-road, it is extraordinary what it can do. And that's the first version that went to an all-aluminum monocoque structure instead of the steel body, and shaved about 900 pounds off the car. And so it created a much more nimble machine, a more capable machine, and the chassis rigidity of that car is pretty extraordinary as well. So dimensional stability and geometrical stability with suspension is also really enhanced. And I would say I would reincarnate myself as a Range Rover because it's both elegant and also extremely capable off-road. It's kind of a Swiss Army utility knife when you need it, but you can go from the muddy path to the opera and still be in style.
Nicely done. I like it. I like the way you related that together. How about a great book? We love books here on Cars Yeah. Is there a book you'd like to share?
So I would say it's not a car book, but it's interesting because I used to use it in the GM training program that I did with Sonic Automotive, and it was called Creating Magic, and it was actually written by the former executive director of Walt Disney World Resorts, Lee Cockerell. And the great thing about that book is it is all about how Disney creates magic and all the attention to detail that they pay in the parks with their staff, with their training program and regimen in all of the resort properties. And we used to relate it to the automotive business, like look through your customer's lens, what they see when they approach your store. Mm. Is it organized? Is it clean? How does your staff greet people? And that was a book that was really inspirational for me when I would talk to people, because it was not only about how to create a great sales environment and a great experience, but it was also about being a leader and a servant leader to your team and trying to get the best out of your team to delegate authority to them and let them surprise you with the results.
Yeah, and you're seeing that with car manufacturers these days. Not all of them get it, but they are getting better versus the old days of going in with the guy with the plastic tie saying, how do I get you in this car today? It was just this.
Absolutely. Well, and I think if you look at the luxury business and what we're trying to create with Velocity Restorations, we want that creating magic kind of experience when the customer first touches us, to a test drive campaign, to the thing in the Hamptons that we just did. And then to vehicle handover, it needs to be a premium level experience, which, I'll borrow a lot of that context from Creating Magic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, definitely Velocity Restorations, you guys are making magic because, as I mentioned earlier in our talk, you're bringing our youth, those of us who wanted these things when we were kids, to today. And can't be any more magic than that, right?
And not only that, instead of you having to project manage trying to get your truck done over a 2-year period of time, aggravating yourself, we'll get it done for you in 14 weeks.
I'm still blown away at that. That just is mind-boggling to me. Bravo to what you guys have pulled off. So let's go on the ultimate drive. I'm a bit of an enabler. A lot like Velocity Restorations, you enable people to relive their youth and have a lot of fun. If I could enable you to get into any car in the world, don't worry about the cost. I'm going to park it in your garage. You can take it anywhere. But here's the key. You could take anyone with you, including somebody from the past who's no longer with us. What does the ultimate drive look like for someone like you that's driven so many cool cars?
So I would have to say, number one, I would be driving a 1959 and a half Porsche convertible D Roadster.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I did own one of those that we were in the middle of restoration. And after I was about $50,000 into the body, I said, I think I need to pump the brakes.
Yeah, I can get that way, right?
So it starts running away fast. And I had a BMW Z1 actually at the time that I brought up to the United States from the UK. And I said, look, I don't need these two cars. I will keep one, whichever one sells first, and the convertible D Roadster sold first. But so I would be driving that, and I would love to do the Mille Miglia, and I'd like to do it. Both my son and daughter are into cars.
Nice.
But my son, I think, is a bit more into cars just because he loves sports cars, and he loves all the attributes of really German sports cars in particular. I think I would probably be doing it with him to create some incredible memories. With my daughter, I go and visit places like the Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland, and she loves to go to the Dolomites in Italy, and she loves to travel and hike and be out in nature. And my son just loves to do stuff with cars.
Lucky you. Oh, that would be fun. I got to do something kind of similar with Henry Reiser and Intermechanica. My wife and I went up to Canada, and we spent a week with a bunch of his clients, and he gave us one of his cars, which was his are replicas, of course, but it was a 59 convertible D, but it had a 911 engine in it. Oh my. Yeah. And oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Yeah, he brought back a nice memory there. That would be cool. But to do it with your son, very, very special for sure. You have taken us on a wonderful ride today, and I can't thank you enough for sharing what an amazing life you've had and you're having with what you're doing with your passion for cars. Before I let you go, would you share maybe a success quote or a mantra with us?
Oh gosh, I've studied a lot of leadership in my career, and there are lots of different types of leaders. Whether it's a dictatorial leadership or command and control, or and I like to sort of see myself as a servant leader, and somebody who really tries to look for things going right and to emulate what that good looks like with the rest of our team. But I think one of the mantras that I really hang my hat on is actually one from General George S. Patton. And he said, number one, he said, "Lead me, follow me, or get out of my way." That was one of the quotes from him. But the other one was, define clearly the objectives for your team, and then let them surprise you with the results. Like, don't just hover over them and micromanage them. Let them be the lead. Let them be aware. Give them the responsibility, the accountability, and the authority to execute the plan, and let them surprise you with the results. And I really live all the time.
Yeah. I wish more people would do that. The other one might be a little harsh, but sometimes when you got to get stuff done. Yeah. But I think the second one is much stronger and builds a much stronger team for sure. So I love it. How can people learn more about Velocity Restorations?
They can simply go on our website, velocityrestorations.com. They can look for us on the socials at Velocity Restorations, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok, Facebook. We post all over the map. We've actually had a lot of press write-ups on the Mustang and the F100. Most recently, we're about to launch the K5 Blazer press release on July 31st. So I would just look for us on the web and on the socials, and you're bound to come across some of our content that I produce.
Absolutely. You're going to be blown away by what you find. And if you're fortunate enough to attend the Quail this year, a motorsports gathering, of course, it's in Carmel, California. It'll be Friday, August 18th. Go up to Jeff and his team and say hello and enjoy what they've got on display there. But if you can't get to the Quail, but you're there during Car Week, you can look them up, like you said, on their website and go see some of their vehicles and maybe sign up for a test drive. Now, that would be pretty cool. So, Jeff, you and your team have a wonderful time at the Quail. And again, I want to do a shout out to our friends at Con Media because they bring me so many wonderful guests, Nathan Espinosa, Luke Walsh. Thank you guys for bringing Jeff to Cars Yeah. You hit the ball out of the park once again. Jeff, until you and I talk again, I usually say I'll see you down the road, but I'll see you at the Quail.
See you at the Quail.
Sounds great. This was wonderful. Hey, I want to do a congratulations to my daughter and son-in-law. Today, they delivered us our first little granddaughter. So welcome to the world, little princess. It's going to be a fun ride. I am so excited. And your big brother, he's pretty excited too. Welcome to the world. What a very special gift.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.